Story 1. AIW invited to a wedding, but there's a catch. I was so happy to see a wedding invitation in my mailbox. I pulled it out and a little note fell out on an index card, but I looked at the invitation first. It was truly beautiful, and I immediately stuck it to my fridge like the work of art it was. It was addressed to my husband and me, and I was beyond stoked. I love weddings. I tend to get teary-eyed and smile until my face hurts at the joy of new beginnings and all the love. I was even a wedding singer. That's how much I love them. I picked up the note card and read that. And while my husband was invited, I'd be in another room helping to babysit all the children there with several other female invitees. There's a special room for children at the church, and that's where I'd be. For everything. I'd still need to dress for a wedding in case I wind up in any photos, but I'd be taking my reception meal with the children, and I'd be with all the kids for the ceremony. Then there was a link for their gift registry. Oh, and the meals for my husband and myself would be $100 each, and we have a link to pay it when we digitally RSVP. The first problem here is that I am disabled at 50 years old. Legally, I use oxygen. I use a walker when I need to walk long distances. I sometimes have to give up the walker entirely and use a wheelchair. I'm not proud of it, but there it is. I could happily sit in a room and look at kids, but I'd be pretty useless to prevent a fall or stop a child from choking or anything else that would require me to move quickly. Second, my husband isn't the one who has been friends with these people since childhood. I am. Why would he be invited to watch the ceremony and be part of the reception, but not me? My husband said he'd happily watch the kids and let me attend the wedding and reception, but the invitation specified that only other female invitees would be watching the kids, so I doubt they'd let him. Is this a normal thing at weddings now? Do you pick guests to babysit other guests' children? Should I call them up and explain my health situation even though they already know it and visit me during my multiple hospitalizations a year? I hate having to pull the health card, but honestly, what were they thinking? I confess that I feel offended and hurt that I'm nothing more than a babysitter to them who is expected to pay for my supper and babysit for free. Would I be wrong to simply tell them we won't be able to attend and to find another sitter? And if we don't go, do we still send a gift? Updating to address some questions. I know these folks because my mom, R.I.P. Mom, and the bride's grandma were besties. So I grew up with the bride's mom as an almost sister to me. We went to school together, graduated together, worked at the same place twice, and have been super close since. The bride is like a goddaughter. At least I thought she was. I'm gobsmacked here. The church where they are getting married is a Southern Baptist church. They aren't members. None of us are overly religious. They just liked the venue and booked it. I've never been inside, but it's lovely on the outside. And apparently, it has a childcare room that is big enough for a bunch of women and kids to hole up comfortably for a wedding and reception. We're all American. The groom's family is related to my family via marriage, and the bride and groom met at my house at a cookout a few years ago. I've always been way closer to the bride's family, though. I knew that there had been a proposal. I got FaceTimed about 10 minutes after it happened, and my husband and I cried and laughed and wished them well and oohed and ahed over their story in the ring. I was expecting an invitation, sure, but not like this. The last time I had lunch with the bride's mom, she told me they're inviting around 200 people, so it'll be a large wedding with, I'm assuming, a ton of children. No, I don't hate kids. I love kids. I would have loved to have kids of my own, but my body just wouldn't do it. It took 2 miscarriages and a stillbirth to finally make me accept that it wouldn't happen for us. We are in the process of adopting 2 young adults that we brought into our home when we found out they were kicked out and homeless at 18. They've lived with us for years, and we're making it legal. They call us Mom and Pop, and we're a family. I'm still considering my options. I've started and deleted multiple emails to the bride's mom. I'm a raw nerve right now, and my tone isn't the kindest. I want to keep it all in writing so there can be no he said, she said. I plan to ask if they incorrectly sent me the note about babysitting, since they know I physically cannot do that. But every inception of the email led with WTAF, Donna. So I need to think about it some more. Thanks for all the comments. I'm reading them all. Relevant comment. Cacklin, I'm not proud of it, but there it is. Sorry to not reply to your initial question, but this comment caught my attention. I just wanted to let you know that you should actually be very proud of yourself and your body for pushing through and using the equipment that is needed to support your body well. OP. Thank you so much. I never expected this to be my reality at 50 years old. Never. I went from being so healthy and doing all kinds of sports, I rocked roller derby and could swim like a fish and loved to play tennis, to this. And sometimes I feel like it's not even my own body I'm living in anymore. It's just not okay. Therapy is helping me accept it, but it's an uphill battle that I feel like I can't win. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. EOP updated the same post 6 days later, July 17, 2024. Update. I spoke to my friend, the mother of the bride, and I'm pretty upset. I've been bawling for most of the day. She called and said that they were getting a lot of backlash from the wedding guests. No one wants to pay $100 for dinner, and only 3 of the women asked were okay with babysitting. I told her I understood that the guests were upset because it's just tacky to 1, be asked to pay, and 2, be told you are invited but only to babysit. I told her I would not be a babysitter. At all. No. She got mad and brought up how we were lifelong friends. She said I'd be helping them more by babysitting than I'd be helping by simply sitting in a pew watching. I reminded her that I couldn't physically help at all due to, being legally disabled. She said they completely understood that and expected me to simply supervise the other sitters, since they trusted me most. Again, I told her that I felt it was insulting to be voluntold. Thanks, Reddit, for that word, that I'd be babysitting and that I had no desire to do that, especially not dressed in formal wear. Then we got to the truth. She said that she didn't know if I'd be in a wheelchair that day or require a walker. That's fair. I don't always know which one I'll need. She said that they wanted everyone in pews for the wedding video, and me sitting in a wheelchair would make me stick out and ruin video photos. I said, if I need a wheelchair that day, then I can move to a pew, and my husband can put the wheelchair in another room or back in our car. I may not even need it that day. Then she says, well, space is limited in the pews. You would take up the space of 2 people with your purse and oxygen tank. I said, no, I would not. I wouldn't bring a purse in, and the oxygen tank either sits on my lap or between my feet. It's like a little backpack. Then she said, well, having you in oxygen in the photos would be distracting from the other people. And there you have it. Words were exchanged, and she hung up on me. I haven't been removed from any social media yet, but I fully expect to be. I already feel awful for being this way at only 50 years old. I didn't choose this. I didn't want this. If she thinks it's awful to having it photographed, just imagine living with it. Which is what I told her before she hung up on me. I'm devastated. Just devastated. OOP updated a second time on July 25, 2024. Update 2. I'm not in the greatest headspace. I don't think I've ever been less okay, honestly. I did not register to RSVP or communicate with them further, until another invitee got in touch with me and said that the mother of the bride, a person I thought of as basically my sister, was bad-mouthing me into the ground. I explained my side, and our mutual friend was livid. They told the mother of the bride and the bride that they were wrong to want to exclude me because I might or might not need a wheelchair and would have oxygen on my face. I could remove the oxygen for photos, they told her. So the mother of the bride sent me a message saying, and I quote, well, if you're going to be butthurt about the aesthetic we want to achieve and try to turn other guests against us, then you can F***king come and sit in a pew, but not in photos. And we'll try to get the videographer to do edits to the wedding vid too. But I won't forget how you made this difficult for us. I replied, how did I make it difficult other than existing? She replied, you clearly told ******* about what I told you regarding your wheelchair and oxygen, and she's telling everyone else. We're getting a ton of hate. I said, she asked me if I was attending, and I told her no and explained why. I didn't lie to her. I told her exactly what you said. You didn't tell me not to tell anyone your reasons. If they're valid reasons to you, then you shouldn't care who knows. So, I'm now blocked by the bride, the mom, the dad, and the groom. A friendship I've had my entire life is over. A goddaughter that I helped nurture and care for is just gone now. We paid for the bride's car insurance, gas, and cell phone all through high school and college because we wanted her focused on just her studies and not a part-time job. Her parents got her a car but insisted she work, but her grades fell when she did, and we helped her. And this is how they thank us. This is how they repay our kindness. I guess I'm a great friend when I'm giving money, but I'm not good enough to be seen. I've felt like a burden my whole life, and this has set me back so far. I'm just not okay. Update #3. Added July 30th, 2024. Brand new update #3. Apparently my post went sort of viral because it was on Fox News and a site called Bored Panda. A few mutual friends reached out and asked if it was me, and I admitted that it was. They were told something completely different about the situation. The bride's mother told them that I refused to come because of my health difficulties, and that I was afraid I would ruin the wedding and declined the RSVP. She even claimed that she had been begging me to attend ever since the engagement happened, which was a bold-faced lie. I am the one who organized and paid for the after-engagement party so they could announce the happy news to everyone. And I was clear to everyone that I couldn't wait to attend the wedding, so I sent screenshots, photos of the invitation and the note card telling me I'd be babysitting, and then the showdown where I was told I could sit in the pew and just be edited out of the video and would not be in any photos. I also posted it on Facebook and shared receipts there too. Well, WW3 has officially commenced. Granted, I'm getting this all third and fourth hand, but here's the latest. Word has spread fast. Links to the news article have made it all over the place, and I've been told that the few ladies who had agreed to babysit have backed out and asked if there was something wrong with them that would make them not fit to sit in the pews or be in photos. And I think that's probably the case, since 2 of them have unnatural hair coloring and the other has facial piercings. The church that was booked as the venue has been notified, and I'm hearing it's probably not going to happen there because the pastor's daughter is wheelchair-bound after a car accident. He was going to officiate, but now he says he's conflicted about it and the message it would send. My ex-friend and the bride have blown up my husband's phone because I blocked them after this went public. They blocked me first on all of the social media spots, and he let it go on for a few days to see what they had to say. He has blocked them, but the bulk of it is that I'm jealous that I was never blessed with any children of my own. So that's why I'm ruining this for them. I'm hateful and vile and vindictive because I hate them for their clear health. I mentioned that the groom is related to me by marriage, right? That whole branch of the family tree has now divided itself with some on my side and some on the bride's side. The groom hasn't contacted us at all, but his mother did, and told me that I was wrong for sharing personal business, and that I need to let the bride have her wedding how she wants it. I don't agree that I did anything wrong here. I can't help that I'm sick. They've made me feel like utter trash that should just be tossed into the landfill. I hurt. I literally ache because of this. So, hi Donna, my ex-best friend and practical sister. If you're reading this, you devastated me. I'm not okay. I don't know that I'll ever be okay again. I invested time and money into both you and your daughter. I gave you both a home when your marriage was messed up and never charged you rent or asked for help with groceries or utilities. For over a year you lived in our home and we paid your way, so you are wrong to treat me this way. My oxygen mask and possible need for a wheelchair should be the last thing on either of your minds. Because what matters most is that I, feeling as bad as I normally do, was still going to put on my best dress, make myself look presentable, plant a smile on my face through my pain, and show up for you like I always have. But I never, ever will again. If people noticed me in your photos at all, it would have been because I had the biggest and most proud of anyone there, and they'd see the love I had for you radiating off the image. You will regret this one day when I'm gone, and you realize that there are more important things in life than a perfect photo. Relevant comment? Gide OP. This has been updated. You guys, thank you for the private messages and all the comments. It's safe to say that war has commenced in my town, and I'm just I'm reeling, and I've honestly never felt lower in my life than I do right now. I've had pretty unhealthy thoughts, so I'm seeing my therapist 2 times a week now instead of every couple of weeks. I'm seriously not okay, but you guys and your support and all the funny comments have really helped me. Thank you all. New update. Nearly 3 months later. Update, and possibly the final update. The wedding was today, November 16th, 24. Friends rented a big cabin venue about 20 minutes from the wedding venue, and everyone who was offended over being asked to pay at the reception and babysit or serve the food, yes, several people got invitations telling them they were invited, but would be serving food at the reception they paid to eat at, got together at the cabin, me included. I was on the fence about going because I really didn't want to sit there and talk about everything and rehash it, but that wasn't my experience at all. I had a truly lovely time. My husband and I even danced to our wedding song, and I had mixed drinks. Quite a few, so forgive me if this has typos. LOL. 2 of the bridesmaids opted out of the wedding over mistreatment, and without anyone knowing, they sent letters to all the guests who had been invited to tell them what went down with me, and others being asked to babysit B servers. Those guests were given the address of the cabin. They were the 2 bridesmaids who addressed all the envelopes and still had the guest list, from what they told me. Anyway, we had a great time. There were about 80 of us before all was said and done, though I didn't take a head count. It was packed. Several people went to the wedding but didn't attend the reception. They refused to pay for their meal, and came to our get-together instead, including the 2 bridesmaids who told me all about what I was being called and the story of how I was trying to ruin their wedding because I was jealous of their good health. The bridesmaids who backed out of the wedding due to bridezilla behavior were posting a ton of pics of all of us dancing and eating. We all chipped in $dollar weeks ago for catering and booze, and was seen by my ex-bestie because she unblocked me. I unblocked her weeks ago in the hope that she'd come around, much as I'm loath to admit it, and called me to tell me off again. I told her I didn't plan the alternate reception, but I was invited and came because they didn't care about my health or me ruining any photos, just me having a good time. Apparently, the wedding was ruined because of me. They had invited hundreds of people, and the church wasn't even halfway full, and the reception had less than 30 people, so that's $3,000 the guests paid, when the food and liquor cost around $15,000, and it's my fault they're eating that cost now. They likened me to the Antichrist and the devil and claimed I had to be possessed to do this to a young girl and the groom, when he's a member of my family. I said, I didn't do anything. I told the truth, and if the truth hurts you, then maybe you were wrong to do it. Did you consider that? She hung up on me and started calling others and demanding the address so they could come to the actual reception. No one gave it to her. I just got home at 11 p.m. It was a great day. I laughed. I even felt up to dancing a little. I had good news. I don't need my oxygen all the time now and just at night via CP app or after exercise, and I have been going to the pool and doing senior aquatics as much as I can, and it's helped so much with my breathing and my mobility. I can walk around the whole grocery store now without needing to sit down on my walker. I still use the walker for long periods due to dizziness from Meniere's disease, but I think I'm doing better. At least I'm trying. I feel very proud of myself, friends. Anyway, the wedding still happened, but they didn't have the numbers they expected, and I've heard that someone suggested they donate the excess food instead of throwing it away, but they didn't. Which sucks because I just know that firemen, or police, or the hospital, or the homeless shelter would have been so happy to get it. I think I'm doing better mentally after today because everyone who talked to me told me it was wrong to exclude me because of my wheelchair or oxygen. I did have my walker with me today, but not my wheelchair or an oxygen tube. I had it in my car just in case I needed it, and there were a couple of times I could have used it, but I was determined not to be in any pics with it out of pure spite. I also wore the pretty dress I bought for the wedding and had many compliments. I'm still hurt and angry and miss having that closeness with their family, but I'm going to be okay. And that's a wrap. Story 2. My husband is best friend with his ex-wife. My husband, 36M, and I, 34F, had been married for 8 years, together for 14, and we have a 4-year-old daughter that is our whole life. He had been married before with Eliza, his best friend. They married at 18 and lasted 2 years and divorced. They remained best friend, and when we started dating, Eliza, my husband's other best friend, Jack, and my husband were a tight-knit. Eliza was one of the bros, and I always was the girlfriend. And later, the wife, always an outsider. His 2 friends are single, so our house was always a place to crash. Even since we moved together, they would show unannounced and do their own thing while I made snacks and full meals. For the first year, I tried my best to integrate into their clique, but never worked out. It was always awkward, and I felt I was inserting myself where I didn't belong, so I stopped trying and relegate myself to be great host and let them do their things. I didn't notice at first, but over the years resentment had built. I feel like a 50s housewife serving drinks and lighting cigarettes to men. My husband on his own is amazing and love him. He had been a great partner and my best friend during this 14 years. Problem is, I'm not his best friend, Eliza is. Every single thing that happens in our life had TL be discussed and analyzed with Eliza. Early in our relationship, I got pregnant. I took the test early in the night and we were really scared. Despite this, he was so reassuring with me, holding me the whole night, and told he was ready to do whatever I wanted to do. I said I needed to really think about it. Next day, we went to our classes and agreed to lunch together. When we met, he asked me how I was and all, then told he had the contact of a doctor who did abortions. It was illegal back then. I asked how he found one so fast when wasn't sure what to do. Answer: he called Eliza early in the morning and she had a friend. I felt so betrayed because this was something that belonged to me, and he went and shared it with someone else. Not just someone else's, Eliza, come on, he said. During the next days, every time I saw him, he has new information from Eliza and Eliza's friend. I was so confused and scared, and Eliza convinced my boyfriend we needed to it fast because it would be easier. It was so much pressure, I agreed. Long story short, it was a rat hole doctor office, and I almost died there. To this day, I don't know if I should have kept the baby or no, but better not think about it. When my boyfriend proposed, Eliza was fake mad. He didn't said first to her he was going to propose to me. The only way to placate her was to has her as a best man, despite my husband having a male best friend. Every little or major event in our life turns into, yeah, I'm going to tell now, Eliza, you know how she gets. I was SA as a child and told this to my husband. He was the first person I talked about it. Months later, Eliza and I were alone in out kitchen, and she started to talk about something she heard in the news about a girl raped by a family member and then hugged me. When I started to try for a child and I got pregnant, I asked my husband to keep this for us for a little. It was Wednesday, Sunday when I saw Eliza. She congratulated me. I ended up miscarrying. I started to look for a doctor to help me deal with my depression again, something I wanted to keep to myself. Eliza was so understanding. When I was pregnant with my daughter, Eliza came full of advice on things I should do. I told her to mind her own bassines, which really hurt her feelings. I stood on my ground and told my husband I wasn't going to raise my kid with Eliza and didn't want to hear any advice from her. This was a big fight with my husband because I was rude, and Eliza was family and already considered herself an auntie. This had been the only time I had given an ultimatum to my husband. Eliza better keep herself away from my motherhood or we'll leave. Now resentment has reached a point when I don't want her near me or my house or my husband. I feel she is more married to my husband than I. My whole life feels like I live best friends to lover drama. I'm not sure why I'm writing this. Probably because I'm alone in a coffee shop and thinking I want my husband to be my husband and not feel like a lame love interest in someone else's epic love story. In the past, my husband thought I was being childish. Despite loving him, I can't keep to be married like this. I don't feel I can trust to talk to him again without involving Eliza. I don't want to hold an ultimatums. TLDR. My husband is best friend with his ex-wife. I don't trust him anymore. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Wow, that's a really heavy one. Have you confronted him when he told her stuff you wanted to be between you two? OOP. Yes, I did. He always acts like, is I Eliza? I needed to talk out with someone. He needed support, outside perspective, to vent. Commenter 2. Well, you almost died because Eliza recommended a quack for your abortion. Honestly, I don't know. Probably an ultimatum would work, but you said you don't want to give him one. Maybe couple therapy. Either that or divorce. You seem to be at the end of the rope. P.S. Has Eliza been seeing someone all this time? Were they all right with her connection with your husband? OOP, before I had my daughter, I gave him an ultimatum, or either he and Eliza respected my motherhood and she kept her opinions to herself, or we were done. I don't want to just keep giving ultimatums to keep my marriage. Honestly, I don't even know if counseling would work, because I don't think he see a problem, so he would probably go and has a drink with her and tell about the counseling. Commenter 3. Exactly. Seems like OP wasted her time being the third wheel in her own relationship and ultimately her marriage. Giving ultimatums and then not following through is just a waste of words. Commenter 4. Yeah, he knows she won't do anything, so he's not going to change. Commenter 3. Yup. That's why it's been 14 years and she's pretty much the side chick, just how her husband and Eliza like it. She stomps her feet and they laugh at her or completely ignore her and go back to their little bubble. Then the cycle repeats. OP should have left around the time of the abortion. The writing was on the wall in big, bold, capitalized letters. OOP. For the last 14 years, every time I express how I don't like our private life to be shared with outsiders, he downplay it as needed to talk things about, to vent. His friends are his closest family, they wouldn't never judge. But I'm just right here if he needs to talk to vento whatever. Then it comes like I want to isolate him. I don't want to isolate him from people he cares. I want to share my problems, our problems with him and only him. This past 14 years I've thinking maybe I'm crazy and possessive. Maybe I'm toxic for not understanding how a strong friendship is. It's only because now resentment has built, because I started to see myself as annoying characters between the two main characters. I feel so down. I had given everything into my marriage. OOP on why her husband and Eliza divorced in the first place. OOP, they married very young at 18 after dating for 3 months. Their relationship was very intense in a good way at first, then in bad way. They divorced 2 years later and discovered they were better off as best friends. Update November 22nd, 2024, 1 month later. I'm going to start saying how thankful I'm to everybody that showed grace on my last post. This isn't a happy update, if anything, welcome to the pity angsty train. After writing my post and reading how most people felt about, my head was full of doubts and sadness. Your opinion isn't a surprise since most of my friends and family had voiced the same at some point. I guess I'm too slow and need to be punched harder to understand. A few days after my post, I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. Having a large family is what we always wanted, and ever since my abortion I was left with a feeling of having empty arms. So holding my daughter in my arms was like feeling whole again, and know I need to grow my arms even more to hold my new baby too. But after the initial happiness, a ugly feeling started to grow in my stomach. I didn't want Eliza in our life. It felt like taking my innocence glasses out and I was able to see her. Like really see her. How every smile was so damn fake. Every compliment was always mean-spirit or kinda self-compliment. Nice potato salad, it was great. Oh, remember, to my husband, that potato salad I made, it was kinda unbelievable, blah blah blah. Or, nice outfit, I love how confident you are. I can't leave the house without making sure my outfit is flawless. Her reaction to my first pregnancy, wedding, travels, my second pregnancy, buying a house. How everything that should be between my husband and I always include her, like if our life was a play she should write and direct. On our first Christmas together, she came when we were decorating, and with all his positive Christics, I ended sitting in a corner drinking wine while she and my husband decorate. She is always here. And by here I mean in my life. She has a say in everything in my life, to the point that when my husband voice his opinion I can say when these are his words and when are Eliza's. I'm no saying that since I wrote the last post, everybody turned into ultimate evils, but thinking and rethinking about my life with my husband, I had always been a passive character. It's like my husband got himself a pet, and he and Eliza are going to be endgame when they both realize they never stopped loving each other. Some of you, as my sister, will say I'm dormant. I guess I am. I have let this go for so long that it becomes normal. My life isn't bad. My husband hasn't been a bad husband, and Eliza isn't so bad if the bar is she hasn't tried to kill me yet. I know is clear to you all. But to me it had been my life for years, my day-to-day. I learned to look away and make me small so I don't make others uncomfortable. Maybe because I'm pregnant and hormonal, but I'm tired of this. I love my husband, but I feel he can't love fully with Eliza whispering to his ear. and him running like a golden retriever to please her. So after all that thinking and rethinking, I sat my husband down and told him we needed to set some strong boundaries because our marriage was working and I didn't feel loved or respected like a wife or even a person. I explained more or less what I said here. My husband denied everything and tried to explain himself, saying Eliza was like a sister to him. I say even siblings have boundaries. It was back and forth, with him making me doubt if maybe I was in fact trying to control who was or wasn't in his life, wanting to monitor his friendships, and even joked if we'll need to sly away to have a drink with his buds. For a moment I feel maybe I was in fact crazy, but I was firm into my ground. If he wanted to keep this marriage, Eliza needs to be gone from our life. At first I thought low contact was good, but seeing his reaction I knew that wasn't going to be enough. Maybe I wouldn't be seeing Eliza, but he certainly will do, and I would be antagonized and mocked. Honestly, knowing this made me realize my marriage was over, so I asked important questions and pressed what his real feeling were, why they divorced if they were so hung into each other, why no leave me sooner, why no leave me. Did he loves Eliza more than me? Why? What is that? What is that? That I don't have, and she does that makes her impossible to leave? In a summary, he loves her, but he loves me. He doesn't understand how. Both of us bring something he doesn't want to miss. He is not sure if he wants a life with Eliza like the one we have, a marriage, a family. But she is his soulmate. They divorced because between then it was so much fire they were burning each other. With me he has calm, peace, and loving place to come back. He have never cheated, but admits he sometimes fantasies with her being me and me being her. They often talk about them having this life, but agree that being together would break their bond. All fucked up, my God. I know as was kinda obvious to you all on my first post, and it should have been obvious to me, but hearing my husband saying he loves another woman that is his soulmate, and he put her in the center of our life, made her an auntie to our daughter and some kind of sister-in-law to me, a supposed family friend. I'm not gonna lie, it broke me. I threw myself in the floor and hugged his legs and asked him what I need to do to him to love me, to only love me. I felt so pathetic, but I believed everything was worth to save something with so much value like my marriage. I cried and cried and cried. And the hardest part was to hear there was nothing I could do. This is all. I know isn't some shocking new. To me my life is falling apart. The only thing holding me up are two little hands that hug me every night and the small bean in my belly. We haven't discussed anything legal yet. He left the house and my sister and mom and staying with us for now. Top comments. Commenter 1. He's a selfish, cruel man. She is just as equally horrible. He used you and kept her around and she played along with it. He says he sees her as a sister, but then says he fantasizes about her being you and you being her. Both cannot be true at the same time. She is either a sister to him, or he wants her to be his wife. All he does is lie. He was living his best life and got everything he wanted. He has cheated, maybe not physically, doubt it, but emotionally he has. You deserve to find someone who truly loves you and chooses you every single time and not someone who has another choice. You were their little doll to play with. You gave him all of these wonderful things so she didn't have to, but she gets the perks of being your husband's girlfriend without ever having to get pregnant or do any hard labor in a marriage. I'm so sorry. Commenter 2. While you're going through this transition, do not share details with him that you don't want Eliza to be privy to. Talk with your sister and your mother. Don't tell him about the baby until you're ready for her to also know. Invest the love you had for him back into yourself and your babies. Eliza doesn't want him. She wants the power in your relationship and the control. He's going to come crawling back to the family you built for him. Don't let him. Story 3. Ada for not paying for my girlfriend's haircut. Hi, everyone. My girlfriend, 32F, and I, 38M, have been together for 2 years. I lost my job about 3 months into our relationship. During this time, she really came through for me and helped out a lot. I did not have a car, so she would help me deliver orders on DoorDash and Grubhub so I could pay my bills. She also covered the difference out of her pocket if I was running short. To say I'm grateful to her is an understatement. I finally found a new job 2 months ago. I'm saving up for a car, so she's been letting me borrow hers. She accrued some debt while I was out of a job, and I have repaid about half of that. However, now I'm worried that she's starting to only want me for my money. We got into an argument over the weekend because she called to ask me if she could borrow some money to get a haircut. Apparently, she is running short due to an expected home repair cost, but already paid the hairdresser a deposit that she would have to forfeit if she rescheduled it. I had a long day at work and was exhausted, both mentally and physically. So when I noticed that my phone was ringing, I was really excited to see her name. But after I answered, she immediately asked me for money. I felt crushed because she did it without even asking how my day was first. I told her that I guess I understand what my new role is in her life now, and she threw a huge fit about it. She claims that she gave me her everything for a year and a half just to keep a roof over my head, and that she's accrued debt from when I wasn't working, so I shouldn't be so opposed to doing her a favor. I recently bought her car a new set of tires and got the brake pads replaced, as well as gave her some money to repay the debts with. I also have paid for the car payment and insurance since I started working because I have it at my place more than she does while I save up to buy my own. So, it's not like I don't contribute to her expenses already. She keeps guilt-tripping me because a haircut is a small ask considering everything I've done for you, which feels very controlling. Now she won't talk to me, and I'm scared that she's going to break up with me without even hearing me out. I hated taking her money when I was jobless, and that I have to use her car now. I didn't want to do it in the first place. Any time I needed her to pay for something, it was because it was an important expense like my rent or power. So the way she is asking for something unnecessary like a haircut just feels like a slap in the face. Ada. Verdict, asshole. Relevant. Comment? Commenter 1. YTA a year and a half, she helped pay for all your expenses. And that's good, you've paid back half. But to get upset about her wanting for you to pay for her hair appointment because she is short on money, because she is still dealing with debts because of you is fucking ridiculous. You brought up paying for maintenance and insurance and actual car payment, but you literally said you use her car more than her, so you should be paying for that. Can't believe you have the nerve to say you think she only wants you for your money when you have used her for almost 2 years. OP. Hey, I don't think it's fair to say that I just want a sugar mama when I never felt good about taking her money in the first place. Commenter 2, info. Have you repaid her in full yet, or are you still making payments for the debt you put her in? OP. No, I have not. I've repaid about half of it. Commenter 3. What gets me is OP should be paying for those things on the car. He is using her car because he doesn't have one, so he's putting on the wear and tear. I'm sincerely hoping this is fake, because if not, this person is really as obtuse. YTAOP. It comes across as if you were just with her for her money, which it sounds like you're still using her. She's not mad because of the haircut. She's mad because she asked for a small favor and you completely shot her down and insulted her after everything she's done for you. Hopefully she smartens up and leaves you. OOP, well, it's her car. Editor's note, OOP updated in the same post. Update, November 22nd, 2024. Edit. She didn't talk to me for 3 days and then she dumped me. Comment? Commenter 1, YTA. You've got a lot of nerve accusing her of wanting you for your money, LOL, after all she did for you while you were unemployed. And are you really whining about making payments on her car that you have at your place because you are the one using it? Hope you gave the car back, by the way. Now that you're single, time to take care of yourself. That woman has been nothing but good to you, and you let her go into debt for you. And now you're complaining about repaying that huge favor. The money for a haircut is nothing compared to the financial support she gave you, plus all the time she took to help with food deliveries. Not only that, that's not money she should need to borrow. You should be continuing to pay her back. Commenter 2. There is nothing more perplexing than a man thinking that he's being used for his money when he barely has any. Do you really think that someone who has as little as you do could attract a gold digger? She's looking to you for help because you finally can. She's been spoiling you all this time, so she expected that you would do the same. She tolerated you using her resources for almost 2 years, but yet, the moment that she needs you, you start bitching. This is the exact reason why women should never hold a man down, because once he's up, we will only be repaid with ungratefulness. YTA. Story 4. My husband, 29M, knocked out my brother, 28M for calling me, 26F ABH asterisk re, and my parents want me to choose what is the right choice. Sorry for the throwaway account. I have colleagues on my main account, and I want to keep this as private as possible, but also need advise, as my title says, basically. This past weekend, me and my husband were over at my parents' house for a BBQ. The day was going great until my brother, for some reason, started to have a go at me, calling me names and belittling me. My husband pulled my brother aside and had a talk with him, and the insults stopped. An hour or so later, we were standing around talking with some friends and family members, and my brother came up to me and told me I'm a whore. His exact words were, "You know you are a fucking whore, right?" He said it loud enough for almost everyone at the party to hear. All I saw was my husband next to me look at me. Then I felt a push to the side, my husband stepping in front of me, and the next thing was my brother out cold on the ground with blood on his face. All I heard is my mother yelling and my husband saying, "You don't talk to my wife like that. I warned you already." Before I continue, my husband didn't hurt me. He didn't push me hard or anything like that. Don't know how to describe it, but it was like a push that someone will give you when they are trying to pass. I went like one step back, that is all. I am not mad at my husband. I'm mad at my brother. The whole day he was demeaning me, insulting me, belittling me. Don't know where this came from, as he has never talked to me like that or to anyone that I know of. The bigger problem I have it that I have to choose. Either my husband or my parents. My parents are pissed and have given me an ultimatum. I either leave my husband and divorce him, or they cut me off completely. My husband doesn't give a crap that they are mad. The only thing he is mad about it that he only got one punch in his words. I love my husband and don't want to lose him, but I also don't want to lose my parents. They have supported me through a lot and have always been there for me. I know they are serious, as this is the first time they have ever issued me with an ultimatum. They also threatened my husband with an assault charge, but he doesn't care and welcomed them to do it. I'm stuck between a decision that will change my life forever, and I'm panicking. I have received messages for friends and other family members that have given me support and condemned my husband, but they are leaning more on the support side. Any advice will be appreciated. Edit to clarify. I am to choosing my husband. I have never questioned that, but I also don't want to lose my family. I am very family-oriented, and family to me is everything. I want to find a solution where I can keep both. Relevant. Comment. Commenter 1 info. Why do your parents think it's okay that your brother called you names? What is their excuse? OOP. They haven't excused his actions, but they are condemning my husband for resorting to violence. Commenter 2. What kind of family does this stuff? It sounds very dysfunctional. What were the circumstances whereby your brother goes off on you like that? Now your parents issue an ultimatum. I appreciate that your husband stuck up for you, but that was a terrible political move. OP. One thing about my husband, he is sweet and gentle, but he has never cared what someone else thinks about him other than me and his own mother. OOP's thoughts on violence and how her husband had done this to her brother. OOP. My husband doesn't resort to violence. I have never seen him really angry, and what I saw in his face was past just anger. Don't know how to describe it. This is the first time I have seen him react violently to anything. My husband doesn't care at all. The only peoples whose opinions matter to him is mine and his mother. My brother as well has never talked to me like that at all. This is the first time. OOP's husband needs to earn her parents' forgiveness for what he has done to their son, her brother. OP. My husband honestly doesn't care. When I asked if he would apologize for reacting with violence just to keep the peace, he told me my brother and parents can go fuck themselves. My husband has tried to cheer me up, but he hasn't pushed anything on me. He hasn't given me an ultimatum to choose him or anything. He did apologize for putting me in the position with my parents, but he isn't sorry for knocking out my brother. In my husband's words, I asked him nicely to stop, and I did tell him he will face the consequences if he continued, and he didn't listen. He doesn't care what people think of him. The only opinions that matter to him are mine and his own mother. OOP on if she had dated someone before her husband. Any chances that her brother called her names for another reason like cheating? OOP. No. My husband was my first, and I have never done anything else with anyone except my husband. Update, November 5th, 2024. First, I would like to thank everyone, and I want to apologize as well for the way I worded my post. It's no excuse, but my emotional state isn't the best. Unable to link my previous post? Just look on the account. My husband is my choice, and I have no intentions of leaving him at all. Never had. I know it's early for an update, but I'm more confused now about what is going on. My parents invited me over to have a talk with them, but they wanted me to come alone as they didn't want my husband at their house. My husband refused to let me go alone and said if he isn't going, then he won't allow me to. He basically said, with you alone there, they will just pile on you and that I won't let happen. So we went together. My parents wasn't happy to see him, and my mother wanted to say something until my husband told her he isn't there for them, but me, and if he is forced to leave, I will leave with him. I agreed with him. Reluctantly, they agreed. My brother was there as well. He has a broken nose and chipped teeth and refused to look at me or my husband. He just kept looking at the ground even while talking. Apparently, what happened with my brother is that he broke up with his girlfriend a month ago. It's more like she broke up with him, don't know the reason, don't care. I wasn't aware of this as we aren't close like that. According to him, the reason he had a go at me this weekend is because my life. According to him, my perfect life with my husband kept popping up on his feeds, and he got jealous. Everything on my social media is with my husband. I don't really use it for anything else, but his feed was full of my posts, and that set him off as I had something that he didn't. It got worse when he overheard me and my mother talking when I had a discussion with her over children. Me and my husband is currently trying to have a baby, and that just made everything worse in his head. His life was falling apart, and mine was going perfectly, and I had and was trying to have what he wanted with his ex. He said he didn't take my husband seriously when he pulled him aside, and my husband warned him. I seriously don't know why he went after me, as nothing he said was true in any sense, and I did ask him why he said those things. He refused to answer me. I asked him why the whore comment, because he knows my husband was my first in everything, and it has only been him all these years. He refused to answer. I asked him if trying to have a baby with my husband makes me a whore as it involves sex, and he just left the room. I asked my parents why they didn't step in and tell my brother to leave or stop. My dad said he wanted to, but my mother told him to leave my brother be, as he is not actually hurting anyone. The same with the ultimatum, the wanted to protect my brother. I asked what about me, and they were silent. All my father said was the ultimatum was my mother's idea, and he went along with it. This is basically where we are at the moment. A lot more was said, but I don't think it matters. My husband did apologize to my parents for what happened, but refused to apologize to my brother. When my mother asked him to apologize to my brother, he outright said no. He won't apologize for standing up for me, and my brother got what he deserved. He was warned and didn't listen. My mother said it still doesn't excuse him for hitting my brother. My husband asked my dad what will he do if someone called his wife a whore. My father said I will have a talk with that person, but will never hit someone. My husband laughed and told my dad he is a weak-willed, spineless man if he allows someone to demean his wife like that. That got my mom red in the face. I could see her get angry. That is when I told my husband it's time to leave. I told my parents that I will be going low contact with them, and the ultimatum they gave me broke the trust I had in them. I understand they wanted to protect my brother, but in doing that they hurt me. This seemed to take all the anger out of my mother. They asked if I will be cutting them out completely, and I told them that is up to them. I don't want anything to do with my brother at the moment, as he can't even apologize for what he said to me. I told them if they can respect my wishes, we will see. When we got up to leave, my husband went over to my parents and actually still greeted them politely, but told my dad it's time grow a backbone. I don't know what I saw, but I think it was shame in my mother's face because my dad looked at my mother and she looked away from him. This is where we are at the moment. My husband on the way back home apologized for possibly escalating things, but told me it was time someone told my dad the truth. He said whatever punishment comes he will take and deal with any fallout. I don't need to worry or stress about anything. Edit. Brother's ex cheated on him, and apparently he begged her to fix things. But she chose the other guy, and now he is just pissed and angry at every woman and believe we will all do that eventually. Got a message from my cousin the family had a go at my parents for allowing my brother to talk to me the way he did, and they came clean as to why he did what he did, but couldn't do it when I was over and we talked. They couldn't be honest with me and just refused to answer. Additional information from OOP? OP, honestly really thinking about it. The only person I have felt genuine unconditional love and support from is my husband. There are a lot of things I just swept under the rug and thought it was siblings things, but looking back, whenever my brother had a difficult time, it would take an out on me in some way, and my parents have never stuck up for me. My husband has had my back around every corner and had never thrown things in my face like my parent or brother has. OP on her parents' relationship and why they are not hearing her out. OOP. My father just follows what my mother said. In my 26 years of life, I've never seen my dad go against my mother with anything. Anything she says or want to do it fine with him, no matter the cost. For instance, my dad basically has no friends as my mother didn't like them, so he gave them up and hasn't made new friends because when he tried, my mother finds something she doesn't like about that person. And he agrees. OOP should have gone alone to talk with her parents and brother about her husband's behavior. OP, so I should take the way he worded it over the fact that he wanted to be there and make sure I'm not getting gaslighted. I took it as he want to ensure I'm safe and what happens doesn't happen again. My wording is bad as my emotional state isn't the best that is on me, and I should have probably double-checked everything before posting, but his emotional state can't be any better than mine. He is dealing with everything, and on top of that, he is trying his best to keep my mood up. I know it sounded bad, but I took what he said with all the other actions he took so far to keep me safe. Story 5. My husband and I took in my best friend and her 3 young children, and I'm regretting it. My 30F best friend, 29F, just recently lost her husband, home, car, and all income. Her husband suddenly passed and was the only one working while she stayed at home with her 1-yo twins and 4-yo. They had nowhere to go, so we took them in until she can save up enough to get an apartment. There was no life insurance. My husband isn't happy that they are here. He has told me that he does not like my friend at all, that she has taken me away from him and has taken his home away. He is paranoid that she is stealing our things when we aren't home and wants to put locks on our bedroom and office doors as well as put cameras in them. Today, my friend went into our room to smoke a cigarette on our patio to take a second away from her kids when we weren't home. She called me to tell me that she was going onto our patio, and my husband started freaking out. Now he says he feels like he needs to get an apartment, that he doesn't feel safe. He doesn't have a place in our home that they don't have access to. It breaks my heart that he hates my friend so much when she hasn't done anything. She's just going through one of the toughest times in her life. But I don't know if I am being too trusting of my friend and inconsiderate of his feelings, or if he is being too paranoid. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, I think there needs to be discussion of a timeline for when she is leaving. He agreed to take her in the short term. At least that is the impression I got reading this. So he needs to chill a bit about them living in his space. That being said, suddenly having another woman he doesn't like and 3 kids in the house is understandably not awesome. I think the solution is to set a timeline for when she is leaving. Help her find a place, as her friend, but stick to the timeline. OOP, downvoted. The agreement was a medium-term stay, 8 months to get her kids into daycare, get a job, save up for a car and home. I do think it was a mistake to not have a solid move-out date set for her. Definitely time to set that. She's only been here for a month now. OOP answers some questions. I agree that she should not have gone into our bedroom while we weren't home, and I need to re-establish these boundaries with her immediately. I have no problem with him putting the cameras and locks up if this makes him feel better, even though I will be talking with her. I don't have the option to be too afraid to talk to her. My husband is my priority over her feelings. Daycare job. She is waiting to get approved for government daycare assistance, but yes, she is actively looking for work in daycare. She's only been with us for 1 month. The office door is always locked, and she has not gone in there at all, and she has not gone into our bedroom besides that one time. I guess that I'm aware of. Commenter, if you are in the United States, the children would be eligible for Social Security benefits. You should encourage your friend to apply for those if she hasn't already. Your friend and her children may also qualify for Medicaid health benefits too. OOP, she has been applying for everything possible. I will make sure she also has applied for these. Thank you. Commenter, this OP, how long are they already in your home? Who is paying for food, diapers, and the very important cigarettes? Are you so sure your husband is not right and she is snooping everywhere where she should not snoop? When you live with friends, you get to know them. Why do you not let your husband put up cameras? Are you afraid he is right, and do you not want to stand up against your friend for your husband? And if your husband is wrong, he will be reassured. Look, it is a lousy situation for your friend to be in, but this is BC of choices her husband and she made. She has to get her shit together ASAP for her kid's sake. There is leaning on someone and taking advantage of someone. OOP. She has been here for 1 month now. She is getting government assistance for food and diapers. We have a stash of cigarettes we've been giving her because we don't smoke, and a common gift from my husband's family when they visit from overseas are cigarettes. I have known this woman for 15 years, and I wouldn't for a second think she would steal from us. There is no way for me to know 100% unless we put cameras up, which we will be doing. We already have cameras in the front yard, backyard, and living room. It's not that I'm not letting him. I did think it was just a bit excessive. We can put locks and cameras up. I disagree on this situation being her fault, but I 100% agree she needs to get her life together for her and the kids. But it takes more than 1 month to do that. Commenter, not to mention that her OOP's husband is Chinese, which means other culture, other way of dealing with things. They are known to be very reserved comparing to Occidental people. And from OP's post history, it seems that their home is a constant shelter for any friend of hers. I'd be freaking out too if I had gotten married and ended up running a shelter for people, not being able to be with my family, and my family only, for some time. And we're not even talking about all the other issues here, who's paying the bills, who's buying food for all of them, how even your very own bedroom is all of a sudden occupied by someone else. OP has to make a choice. Does she really want to be married? It seems to be the female version of the "my husband got married but is still behaving like he's single" story. OP. Yes, he is Chinese. Our home has not been a constant shelter, although I do need to be better at saying no to my friends in need. She is the second person to stay with us. The first friend was a disaster, and I won't make that mistake again. He was 100% on board with helping my current friend out. Her situation is heartbreaking, especially for her children. We did not want them to be homeless. There are a lot of details about their story that is just so effing sad. She has no bills, and she gets government assistance for food and diapers. Our room and the office are off limits, and I will be reestablishing these rules and boundaries today. She cannot and will not be allowed to do what she did again. I disagree that I'm acting single. We both agreed to help a family in need, but it's hard, and I'm realizing I need to be more firm with her. But I cannot read the mind of someone who tells me there is no problem until 1 month in. Commenter, it's his home too. Was he even part of the decision? She needs to find her own place. She can't stay with you forever. OOP. We discussed the decision for a few weeks before letting her move in. We were both 100% on the same page at first until now. It's obvious that she cannot stay forever. She has only been here for 1 month. To another commenter, he was at first. We were both kind of excited to have the kids here, since we have been trying for children for over a year. We discussed her moving in extensively before allowing her to, and he was 100% on board. To a third commenter asking if he had a say, he did. He's the one that originally brought it up. Commenter, why is she not staying with family? OP. She has no reliable family. Honestly, it breaks my heart that absolutely no one on her side or her husband's family has helped or even reached out in their own. I've known her for 15 years, and it's always been that way. She was staying with her grandparents in another state for a few months, but they are elderly with a lot of health problems, and it became too much for them to handle in a 2-bedroom condo. To another commenter, her family is horrible. Her mother was in prison when she graduated high school, and her father kicked her out at 17 for not dropping out of school to care for his new child. It's very sad. His family, they were no contact with his family even before he passed, unfortunately. She's taking advantage of you. She is not taking us for granted at all. She keeps the house clean, cleans up after herself and her children, has assistance for groceries and diapers, waiting to get approved for other assistance. This is the only problem we've had with her in the month she's been here. Her situation is heartbreaking, especially for her 3 children. If it was just her, we would have said no. My husband and I were on the same page with letting her stay. We agreed to 8 months, but I do agree that we need to set a specific move-out date. Commenter: did you agree with your husband for her to stay for 8 months? Why save to get a car? She needs deposit for house rental. She doesn't have a job. Who will help with child care? I think you entered this in good faith, but it's such a burden to take on. OOP: yes, my husband set the 8 months timeline. She will need a car to get herself to and from work, as well as her children to and from daycare. Public transport where we are is non-existent. She's rebuilding from zero. It's going to be hard. Commenter: 51% of Americans have life insurance, so it's actually more than half. It's very kind of you to help, but again, them not being prepared for life to happen is not your responsibility. You must pick your poison. OOP: agreed. But my husband and I cannot in good conscience let 3 babies be homeless because of their parents' bad decisions. Editor's note: more than half of the comments OOP responded to were people making things up based on their own experiences or assuming things. If you have a specific question or scenario, OOP probably answered it, but there were too many comments to include them all here. I tried to only include the ones that were asked the most and had the most upvotes. Update post. November 8, 2024. This update is a few weeks overdue, but a lot has happened. It's so hard to fit every single detail of a situation in one post, especially while trying to respect my friend's privacy while going through such a rough time. But I took a lot of y'all's advice. I apologized to my husband and asked him what boundaries he has and what needs to change for him to feel more comfortable. We did have this conversation before they moved in, but things are so different than expected. I realized that I was putting my friend before my husband, and it was a harsh wake-up call. My husband wasn't thinking about leaving me, but he was definitely unhappy. I am glad we had this talk because we have been a lot happier being on the same page. Well, we sat down and talked to my friend, and it went great. She apologized for going into our bedroom when we weren't home and agreed that it was unacceptable and will not happen again. I told her the bedroom and study were off limits, no exceptions. Her children need to keep their toys in the playroom we made for them and not downstairs so they aren't taking over the entire house. She agreed to these things completely. We changed the door locks on the 2 rooms, as well as added cameras and a safe for valuables. Most importantly, we told her she needed to get a job and her children in daycare ASAP and gave her a hard deadline of April 1st. She took the whole conversation really well and said she needed this to happen so she could get out of her sadness and start building her life for her and her kids. 5 days later, she got a job and found a daycare for her children. It's been a complete switch in the energy in the house. My husband and I are spending more time alone in our home together, and all of our set boundaries have been respected. To everyone that said they'd never take in their friend and 3 kids, that is exactly why she has nowhere else to go. No one said yes. It's been rough on everyone, but my husband and I are confident in our decision to help, even more so now that we both feel listened to. He has also worked on his anger towards said friend and feels more at ease while talking to her and existing in the same space. It also helps that he sees she is taking our rules and deadlines seriously and acting accordingly. Reddit obliterated me. And while I don't agree with kicking her out, I appreciate the brutalness that made me realize I was not backing my husband the way I vowed to. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: children in daycare? You are delusional. She cannot afford that. OP: no, she can't. She has assistance and found an in-home daycare that is working with her. She still has to pay some, but it's a lot more manageable. Her smoking. Her smoking isn't my concern. If I put my energy into micromanaging everything she does, I'd go insane. She got her children in a daycare and got a job. I'd say she's getting her shit together. Commenter: yikes, April. She should be out of their way before then. OOP: 6 months to start from scratch is almost not enough time. We are happy with the move-out date. Commenter: I don't know if I said it in the other post or not, but keep in mind that if you let someone stay in your home, you will have a hell of a time getting rid of them if your friend suddenly decides she doesn't want to leave. OP: I'm not sure how much these will actually help, but we did create a written contract with the rules and move-out date that we all signed. Maybe it won't really hold up in court, but it's something. Commenter: So glad things worked out. Friend needed some boundaries too. OP: Yes! I was so stressed about having too many rules, I didn't even think about the fact that it'd be so helpful for her as well. Commenter: That's good y'all had the talk. I definitely couldn't take in someone and their 3 kids. But one thing for sure, and she should have definitely known this, is you never go through the owner's bedroom. That is like a sacred area. My parents never told me that as a kid, but I've always thought that. It's the one area in the house you do not enter without permission. No idea what she was thinking going in there. OOP: Her kids just lost their dad and don't fully understand it. They have meltdowns sometimes, and at the worst they all have a meltdown at the same time. She was desperate was a safe space for herself, which I can understand, but she can't compromise our safe space in the meantime. Go out back or front and lock the door, lock the bathroom door, etc. Motherhood seems intense. Commenter: You did well considering taking in a single mom with 3 kids. We need more PPL like you and your husband. PPL who don't get scared to sacrifice their comfort over someone else's living. I am 100% sure all the good deeds you do to those kids and mom will come back in 100x more. You never know what is life planned for you. Once my parents took in a woman with 6 kids, 2 own child and 4 adopted, where husband tragically lost his life. Since then, I have 6 more siblings. I am grateful to Allah for them. OP: It was not an easy decision to make, and even more not easy living in it. But my heart broke as I witnessed them jump from house to house and have no idea what was happening or when they would see their dad again. My husband and I are fighting a fertility battle, so in a way I took all of my sadness of not being sane to conceive and poured it into the 3 little ones. The experience we've gotten to prepare us for parenthood has been irreplaceable, and the love I have for them is deeper than I could have ever expected. I truly hope that my husband and I made a difference in their lives, giving them a place to be stable and safe. Our discomfort has a checkout date. Theirs doesn't. Thank you for sharing your story with me. Story 6. My 26 per F mom died a couple days ago. My boyfriend, 31 per M, is refusing to go to the funeral or let my daughter go with me because it's religious. Like the title says, I just lost my mom a couple of days ago from ovarian cancer. I'm devastated right now, and my boyfriend, we've been together for a year and a half, isn't helping me at all. My mom and I weren't on good terms before her death because of my boyfriend. John and my mom never got along because he's a deep-set atheist and my mom is very religious. Major issues popped up once I got pregnant and had my daughter. My mom pressed for me to have my baby baptized into the church, which I wanted to do, but John was dead set against it. He convinced me that baptizing her and indoctrinating her was a bad choice, and that we should leave it to her to choose when she was old enough. I agreed. My mom didn't take this well at all, and after many angry and hurt arguments, she cut off contact with me. Not having my mom with me during my pregnancy or my baby's birth took a big emotional toll on me, but John insisted it was for the best, and he didn't want my mom near my daughter at all, and that my mom was evil for hurting me. At the time, I was angry, so I agreed. I found out my mom was sick with ovarian cancer a month ago when she called me and wanted to talk. I was horrified, and all the bullshit kind of just fell away. I tried to make the best of my time with her, brought my daughter to meet her grandma, and tried to build good memories with her. I'm happy to say we reconciled, and my mom and I made our peace with each other before she died. I don't want to trash my boyfriend, but John has been a pain in the fucking ass since I found out my mom was sick. He said she deserved it, but quickly backed down when he saw how angry that made me. He refused to go with me to visit or help care for my mom. He didn't even really want to listen to me talk about how happy I was to reconnect with my mom. All he did was remind me that my mom hurt me, and I should have no contact with her, and she didn't deserve for me to speak to her. I told him that my mom isn't perfect, but my mom also raised me by herself, and that she was my rock for many years, and he should respect that. He said nothing outside telling me there was no value in talking to her. Now we're planning the funeral. I asked John to go with me, and he refused instantly. He said he hated my mom, that she was a cunt to our family, and that he wasn't going to church ever, and it was rude and insensitive of me to ask. When I said I was taking my daughter, he had the nerve to actually tell me that I was not under any circumstances taking her. I have been through an emotional roller coaster this past week. I lost my mom after we finally made up. My boyfriend has been stupidly unsupportive, and now he's refusing to let me take my child to her grandmother's funeral and refusing to come to at least support me. My daughter is the one thing that brings me comfort, and I want her with me. Is that so unreasonable? It seems like the more I push, the more he digs his heels in, and I just can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. His attitude towards this entire thing is breaking my heart on top of my mom's death. Daughter. I lost my mom after we finally made up. My boyfriend has been stupidly unsupportive, and now he's refusing to let me take my child to her grandmother's funeral and refusing to come to at least support me. Relevant comment. But_cake. How does he plan on stopping you from taking her to the service? OP. He can't. I've decided that I'm taking her unless he tries to physically stop me, and even then good luck. Tina Pesto. Your boyfriend is being completely irrational. He has no say in whether you go to the funeral or whether you bring your daughter. He's making your loss about him. Hell, he made your relationship with your mother about him. Your pregnancy and birth was full of stress from his bullshit drama he started with your mother. Go to the funeral. Bring your daughter. You deserve to say goodbye to your mother, no matter how tumultuous your relationship had been. I'm sorry for your loss. OP. I don't know if it's because I'm so upset, but I'm starting to see that too. It's always been about him. He's never accepted my wants and instead insisted on a compromise that favored him. I've had enough. OP on her mom. My mom actually cut me off when I said that we decided not to baptize my daughter. I tried for weeks and months to reach out to her and even texted and called when the baby arrived and got no response. I really wish I had tried harder, like gone to the house and knocked or even just tried to run into her and talk to her. I was really hurt by what my mom did, and I let John talk me into thinking that my mom really was this mean, vindictive person for cutting me out of her life. Trust me when I say I regret it with all my heart now. Update May 9th, 2016. Thanks everyone that sent me condolences about my mom. It's been really hard these past several days, but I've been hanging in there okay. I tried being reasonable to John about he wanted to handle things. I even told him, like one poster here suggested, that he didn't have to go to the service, but could wait in the lobby with my daughter while the service was ongoing. Then she could spend time with my family after the service. But he again shot it down. He would be able to hear the service, and that was a violation of his beliefs, and asking to compromise on those beliefs was unconscionable and unfair to our daughter. I told him I had had it. This is the icing on a very large cake. I told John that as of this week, I wanted our bank account separated. He made us join accounts to make sure we split everything equally to be fair despite me making more, and that I'd be staying with my brother after the funeral while we figured out what to do, whether that was a total breakup or counseling. It was up to him. He said counseling was for the weak-minded, and that we were staying together despite my empty threats, and there was no way in fuck he was letting me take his money. He became very loud and in my face during this conversation, so I just let him throw his tantrum until he took my silence as agreement. I took my daughter with me to the viewing with no problems. John and I barely spoke that day, which was fine by me. But it hit the fan the next day. When I got up in the morning to get myself ready and get my daughter ready, I discovered that he had the motherfucking gall to park his car directly behind mine, blocking me into the driveway. I had no way to get to the funeral in my own car. John always drives to work, but for reasons I can only image were to get back at me, decided to take the metro and took the baby carriage and bottles and my pump with him. My brother and I have our differences, granted. In fact, we haven't talked much since my mom and I were estranged. We started talking again after she was sick. But he'll forever be a saint to me for what he did. I called him crying, and he and my sister-in-law arrived within 20 minutes. Ciel calmed me down and helped me get my daughter ready, and they brought along spare bottles, a carrier, and a breast pump. Thanks to them, I was able to go my mom's funeral in comfort, and my daughter was an angel during the service. They calmed me down and everything went perfectly, and even though I was a mess most of the day, having my daughter with me, and my Sil, and even my brother with me to lean on, gave me peace on the inside. I've made up my mind not to tolerate John's insane and controlling behavior anymore. He had a litany of excuses for doing what he did. He even tried to claim his car had problems, and I don't want to hear any of them. I never wanted to be a single mom. I always wanted to raise my baby within a family. But I've decided that going alone is so much better than doing it with this man, who thought nothing of trying to kick me while I was down. My brothers arranged for me to talk to a friend of his that specializes in family law this week, and we're taking it from there. I still feel so guilty for what happened with my mom. I miss her so much. I hope from here on out I can make her proud of me, despite my mistakes. ... Boyfriend flew off the deep end and tried to block me into my driveway to stop me from going to my mom's funeral with my daughter. My brother and SIL came to the rescue. We're now separated and I intend to move forward on my own. Relevant comment? Jangetta, I am so sorry you are going through this right now, and I'm so glad you have the support of a family behind you. Your daughter is far better off without someone like this as a role model for what she should look for in life, and I'm glad you're getting out of this situation. I would call the bank and see what you can do about the joint account before he tries something like cleaning it out and putting it somewhere else as well. I'm so sorry and I wish you all the best. OP. I still have my personal account, so I called the bank and set up a meeting for tomorrow. I'm documenting that I've told John not to touch any of the money in the account until everything is worked out. I agree. He's so toxic. John has good points and I do love him, but I can't forgive the way he went out of his way to spite me during this whole thing. That's not love at all. And to another commenter, I'm definitely withdrawing the amount of my last check from the account first thing tomorrow. And lastly about the money. For everyone's that worried he didn't get his hands on my money, I went straight to the bank and got the amount of my last check out of the account. Woo. Ichigomus. I just read your first post and this post. First off, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. Secondly, I am glad you are rid of that man. He's as toxic as they come. And thirdly, I'm glad you have a supporting family who came through for you. Anyways, your ex sounds downright horrible. In your first post, you said he called your mother a cunt and said she deserved it. I would have left he then and there. No one talks like that about family, not even if you have differences with said family, especially if they have passed away. Any amazing qualities he had were all a charade, and he showed you his true self. I'm proud of the fact that you realized that, even though your daughter may not know her father, she is going to be better off. Take care of yourself and your daughter, OP. OP. I was so shocked when he said it I didn't know how to react. It literally didn't hit me until about the time I'd made up my mind to post here. He liked to act like my mom was abusive to him because of her religion, but his main grief with her was that she asked him to lead Grace once, and he reacted badly. Thank you for your kind words. I plan to take good care of us both. 3. Amrak Karma. Had he ever have any violent action, punching a wall, etc.? I think everyone here is underestimating the risk that this man can have violent reactions in the future. OOP. Not wall punching, but he'd slam things like the cabinets or the dishwasher or doors, or he'd rattle a chair or something. Nothing crazy violent, just weird. Story 7. Ada for hating my wife's creepy hobby project? Okay, this sounds insane, but I swear my wife is totally normal otherwise, which makes this so strange to me. For context, we're both in our later 30s and live in a pretty typical suburban neighborhood where we all know each other. My wife has always loved trashy movies and shows about infidelities, and she eats up true crime about spouses killing their cheating partners too. She just says something about it makes her morbidly fascinated in her words. Well, a couple months back we had a scandal in our neighborhood where a married couple in the neighborhood divorced because the husband cheated. No, there wasn't a murder or anything like that, but she became obsessed with learning every detail from every neighbor. No matter the occasion, be it a baby shower or cookout, she would bring it up hoping there would be any new information. A month later is when I stumbled on the board in her home office. I was doing some cleaning, and I found a massive bulletin board facing away, leaned up against the wall. Curiosity got the better of and I turned it around to find a literal fucking conspiracy board of all our neighbors' pictures with lines of yarn connecting each other like the fucking Pepe Sylvia meme. I was totally confused and asked what this was, and she told me it was a hobby she had started recently, where she would track rumors or likely candidates for cheating on the board. The yarn represented who was possibly cheating with whom. She had clearly gotten all the images on Facebook or some social media and printed them out and even had a few sticky notes with details. I told her this was creepy and insane, and she said maybe if I was doing it as a man, but she is just having harmless fun as a hobby and she wouldn't be crazy and try to oust anyone based on rumors. She just likes feeling like a detective. She told me to view it like a creative art piece. I was still super weirded out, but let it go or tried. I thought about it a lot. Well, every now and then I admit to checking the board when cleaning, but just a couple days ago I looked to see that now I was on the board with a yarn attached to a neighbor's wife I am casual friends with. I asked her why she would add me if she thought I was cheating, and she said that was a different yarn color for potential matches for cheating. She said if it makes me feel better, she was planning on adding herself to the board soon. Well, I got pissed and kind of lost my temper about it. I told her to get rid of the board or our marriage will be in trouble. Things have been super rocky since. Sorry for the long post. I am starting to feel bad and it hit me more than usual this morning. Should I apologize to her? And before you ask, no. I don't suspect her of cheating. Honestly, I wish she was because it would at least make more sense than this. Eta? Update September 5th, 2024. Anyway, Jesus Christ. Firstly, appreciate all of the concern and NTAs. It gave me the courage to approach her and tell her that while I may have overreacted by threatening our marriage, I think it is a creepy thing to do. She apologized and said she would get rid of the board. I thought we were good. Literally 2 days later. 2 days later. *T hits the fan. Our happily married next-door neighbor finds a woman's bra under the bed that does not belong to her. It doesn't take long for the whole neighborhood to find out. Well, my wife is giddy, like jumping up and down for joy. She shows me the board, which she still didn't trash like she promised, and of course the husband was marked with yarn, meaning he was likely to cheat. She told me the board was accurate after all, and maybe she should keep her hobby around. I was definitely suspicious, so I looked at the board again later. It looked different from the last time I saw it before the latest scandal. Instead of the yarn connecting to another neighbor, the cheating husband's yarn connected to a post-it with a question mark. Firstly, it was the only question mark there, and I swore it wasn't there last time I saw the board. So either she changed it after the cheating to prove a point, or slightly before it happened, which made me even more suspicious either way. Now I felt like I was the detective and I was going crazy. I went over to the cheating husband's to ask a few questions. The wife was staying at her parents', so it was just the two of us. I asked him if he actually did it, and he said no, he would never. Then I asked if my wife had been over recently. He said one day while you were at work, his wife asked her to water a plant they had while they were both away and told her where the key was. So yes. I immediately raised an eyebrow. I asked if he still had the bra, and he was getting nervous and told me not to get the wrong idea. I said, don't worry. He still had the bra, and I looked at it. It was my wife's, but one I knew she almost never wore because it was from a lingerie set I bought her one Christmas she said was uncomfortable. I told my neighbor I needed to talk to my wife and ran out, but I told him not to worry. I approached her with the bra and asked her what was going on. She played stupid, but I told her to cut the BS. I asked if she had either cheated on me with him or planted it there. Either way, she was in trouble. She confessed to planting the bra and said it was to make me admit her hobby was valid or something. I flipped on her. I said this was worse than her cheating on me because instead of ruining just our marriage, she ruined our neighbors and ours. I demanded she call the wife and admit to everything, even sending pictures of the board. I even showed the Reddit post which actually helped convince her my wife had planted it rather than cheated with her husband. Well, they made up, but now I have no idea what to do. I am barely speaking to my wife, and it is only a matter of time before the entire neighborhood figures this out. I seriously need advice. Relevant comment. Cool underscore. Description 8334. I honestly refuse to believe this is real. Your wife is actually nuts. This is insane behavior to have. Cheeseball fondue. I was thinking just the opposite. This one is so original it's got to be real. No AI is going to come up with this insanity. That's left to humans. New update. Final update, I hope. November 12th, 2024. It's been months since last update. Sorry, I've been busy. Long story short, my wife is in a mental health facility. After what had happened previously, I did not speak to my wife for a while. I tried to stay working or out of the house as often as I could. Well, a few weeks passed and time made it seem like less and less of a big deal. Finally, my wife offered to take me out to a very nice dinner to make things up to me. She told me everything was behind her, and while I was avoiding her, she had actually started online therapy to get help, and realized now what she did was wrong. I really believed her, and we had a great night. One thing led to another that night, and yay lol. It took about 2 days after that for her to get a pregnancy test, and she texted me the positive result. Yeah, I know some of you already think I'm an F***C king moron, but it had been a rough year, and this made me really happy. I started getting very excited. We started talking about turning my home office to a baby room, looking up ways to prepare, booking appointments, planning a shower, etc. A really fun but whirlwind week. Unfortunately, she told me the first ultrasound was at a time I had to be at work and she would have to go alone. Really bummed me out, and I asked her to reschedule, but she said it was the only availability. Well, that next week she went, and I waiting for an update or pictures or anything. Nothing. She came home and was super quiet, and I flipped out and got super worried that the worst had happened. I told her I understood she was probably in a lot of pain about something, but she had to tell me. She finally admitted no. It wasn't a miscarriage, but she was actually pregnant for longer than she thought. Longer than the last time we did it. She actually got pregnant during the time I was avoiding her. Obviously, I was so mad and upset, and I couldn't understand why she would do this to me, but then I realized all the signs were there for so long, and all the comments telling me she was probably cheating was right. But I tried to keep a clear head for at least a second, because I really love my wife and I couldn't believe it. I asked her who it could have been, and she actually said she didn't know. She said she hadn't done it with anyone during the time I was avoiding her. She swore it, and also didn't know what this meant. I thought about it and realized if she was really pregnant for that long, her tummy should be showing, and it wasn't. I decided to call the place and ask them to confirm what they said. My wife told me it would be a waste of time, and she promised she heard them clearly, so I didn't do it that night. But I couldn't sleep that night without hearing it from the doctors myself. I called the clinic she told me she went to the day before in the morning and asked them to confirm the results. They told me something worse than I expected. She had no visit, she was never there. I didn't understand that at all. Before I talked to my wife again, I did what I should have done in the first place and reverse image searched the pregnancy test image. Yeah, it was on Google from a random years-old Facebook post. I was again really mad at my wife and couldn't believe she would put me through all this. I confronted her about the picture and that I called the place and there was no appointment. I told her she had a pattern of lying and this was probably the end of our relationship. But she responded in a way I didn't expect. She burst into tears and went manic, which I did expect, but then said that she really had cheated on me and really was pregnant and that I had made this up in my head because I couldn't face what she did to me. She said she felt like the devil and Hitler and started sobbing and literally screaming at the top of her lungs. She locked herself in the bathroom and told me she was going to kill herself over what she did to me. I couldn't get the door open and freaked out. I called the cops and they broke the door down. She was not hurt, but she was really out of it. They took her to get a mental evaluation and she told them everything there. She even started mixing in stuff about the board and how she knew everyone around her was a cheater, so she had done the same because she was in an evil place. She promised them she was pregnant, but she didn't know who the father was. They tested her while in custody and no pregnancy at all. They told me she was likely suffering from a form of schizophrenia and actually genuinely believed that she was saying, and likely always had to some level, but it seemed to be getting worse. They said she had a symptom called self-accusation and needed help. Well, I got her in a facility last week and she is safe. They are making a little progress. I do not think she thinks she is pregnant anymore. I have visited a few times, but she is very withdrawn with me and says she feels too guilty to look me in the eye. I think there was definitely meddling at certain parts like planting evidence, but now I just feel terrible I did not get her the help she needed when all the real signs were there. I hope her medication starts to help and she can be normal again, and yeah, the neighborhood gossip is having a field day with all this. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope this is my last update. Thanks for all the help. Story 8. The Barbie movie made me realize my mother never truly loved me and never will. On mobile, so excuse typos or formatting issues. Spoilers in NSFW just in case. And I am in my 30SF and moved back home last year due to a million reasons. During this time back, I realized how my relationship is with my mother is and always has been. It's not great. We fight a lot. I know and have known I'm not the child she thought I'd be. I have mental disorders, I'm fat, and others. Last December, during an argument, she told me that my mental illness that I truly work hard to control, 10+ years in consistent and intense therapy, triggers her childhood trauma because her mom has the same disorders. I've always been compared to her, but this just changed something in me, and it's been harder since. I doubt she even remembers saying it. Back to the title. I actually watched the Barbie movie with her yesterday, and watching the relationship between America Ferrera's character and the daughter was something I wished I had. I wish I had a mom that cared, that loved me, and that I was just a kid that didn't realize how much she does. I think a part of me hoped my mom would see that and realize maybe just love me because I had heard that was a reaction daughters had. When I cried realizing this, she actually laughed at my emotions but did not know that's why I was crying. My mother only shows love when I can do something for her, and really that's not often. I'm always reminded of what she gave up for me, and how me in the past bringing up things that hurt me hurts her because I'm never positive. It's always been what I don't do. I've spent years trying to rationalize why I never feel enough. Her mother was awful to her, still is, and I always told myself that's why I'm her only daughter. Just breaks me really. I realized the relationship was only made worse, me moving home, because I stopped begging my mom to love me. I stopped doing everything I can for her affection. I've been making plans and efforts in silence to move and go low contact. No contact, but I have things I have to do before I can. But after watching the movie, it's just confirmed why I need to do that. I cannot keep eating glass for her to feel good about herself as a mother. Anyway, TLDR. I wish my mom loved me, but the Barbie movie made me realize she'll never be able to. OOP on her mother's love language and affection toward her. OOP. I hope no one downvotes you, but yes, there are things good she's done. Unfortunately, basically none of them came with no strings. There's always a catch, with every single person beyond me. It's also gotten worse as I've aged because of my ability and courage to push back. Things that she felt before she could just dismiss and tell me I'm wrong was not something that I'd believe. She used to be able to yell at me to get me to react, and then it'll flip to I'm unreasonable. I don't yell anymore, and it messes with her. I will always remember the nice things she's done when I choose to think of her, but I won't forget what price was paid for those nice things, and what it cost me. OP on her grandma's affection on the mom-daughter. OOP, OMG, yes. My grandmother is worse than my mom, and I get that. I've also watched my mom do the same thing I do, kind of growing up, and I think that is what hurts me the most, is she knows how this shit is. And she repeats patterns. I've begged her along with my entire family to seek therapy, because I truly believe if she did, while painful to deal with not only the insane childhood she had but the realization she did it to her children, I think it would heal our entire family. She refuses. I can't tell you how many times she's gone to 1, maybe 2 sessions with people before an excuse is made. Last time was, I know more than her. She can't help me. OOP on the way her mother is like when behaving toward her and her siblings. OOP, 1000% in my post I said I know why she is the way she is. But I and most of my siblings have begged her to seek therapy to deal with her childhood, and in turn with how she raised us. Unfortunately, that's just too hard for her, and my grandmother is not capable of love whatsoever to the point it's diagnosed, attachment disorder, and I believe my mom's inability to love as someone should is a result of her raising. There comes a point, though, that if you refuse to seek the help to be better, then people will leave. I will always love my mother, but it's not fair for me to get hurt over and over because she can't handle her feelings. It's only gotten worse as I've become an adult, because I have done therapy, and she sees how much I've grown. I also believe she knows it's coming. She knows once I leave, I won't be back. We got into it about a month ago, and I've just kept my distance. She asked what I wanted in a fit of rage over the topic of the argument, and I just said, I want my mom to care. I don't need you to fix anything, but there are fucking reasons you know nothing about my life. I'm either completely ignored while you all state, she's got it. She's been in therapy, she has tools to, are you sure you actually feel this way because you're disorder XYZ and I can't do it anymore? I think in that moment she realized that our relationship is unrepairable. She's been nice to me since, but she's also kept her distance. What I wish, though, is that she seeks therapy. She does the work, not for me, but for herself because she's still only human and deserves to be healthy and have healthy relationships. But even if she does this, our relationship will never be fixed. Update. November 2nd, 2024. Around a year ago, I made a post about how I watched the Barbie movie with my mom and realized the lack of love she had for me. I saw it make its way to TikTok and decided to update. First, I want to thank everyone who commented. I really only got a few negative comments, which to me was surprising, but even those I appreciated. Now to the update. It's actually a happy update. In October of last year, my grandmother, who I mentioned, passed away, and I joke with friends how her passing restored peace to the land, LOL. She was a pretty awful person, so it's okay if you laugh at that. During the aftermath of that, my mom and I became a team to take care of my grandpa, and it started to heal us. And all that actually set the stage for our relationship to better. I ended up in treatment for ED in December of last year. My Ed was rough, but because I'm fat, I was worried she wouldn't believe the struggles. My mother was the one person I was afraid wouldn't support me, but she actually was the biggest supporter I had. I was gone for 3 months in a city about an hour and a half away, staying in a condo near the place I did treatment. She called me every other day just to check in. She helped financially since I was out of work during that time. She never once made me feel bad or that I was faking, which she had done in my teens, early 20s. When I came home, she continued that. She went to therapy for the first time on her own. We finally talked about everything. I brought up the movie and my reaction. She understood and apologized about her treatment of me. And beyond the words, she continues to make efforts. She still asks me how my food relationship is. She makes sure I'm taking care of myself. And she tells me she loves me and is proud of me a lot. Things have also changed in terms of her other kids, my siblings and my dad and stepmom, and it's something we all appreciate. She's trying. While it's not perfect, I still will forever be closer to my stepmom, her wife, but I feel like I can talk to my mom about things I never could before. So honestly, my grandmother dying really did restore peace to our family. I doubt anyone will see this update, but who knows? Relevant comment. Commenter 1. It's really nice to hear when people acknowledge their problems and then work on them. It brings hope to the world. Also a reminder that even the most unexpected of people can change in unexpected ways. OOP. Exactly. It truly wasn't something I thought would happen. But I'm glad it did. I have a huge blended family, and had I cut her off completely had she not done change, I would have lost pretty much everyone. Story 9. Me, 21F, with the family I nanny for. The son, 13M's behavior is starting to creep me out, but I'm not sure if it actually is inappropriate or just a cultural difference. Hey there, using a throwaway just in case. So I am from the US and recently moved to Italy to nanny. I feel this is important because so far I have not been able to tell if I'm struggling with a cultural difference here in Italy or if I actually have reason to be weirded out. It is easy to tell that the son, Dario, is in middle school, as he is already several inches taller than me and his mom and has maybe 30 pounds on me. When I first got here, some of the stuff that freaked me out a little I could handle, and I chalked it up to being an Italy thing. This includes stuff like talking almost exclusively in a baby voice when addressing his parents, calling his parents mommy and daddy, fighting physically with his little sister over who gets to sit on mom and dad's lap multiple times throughout the day, fighting with the sister over who gets to sleep with the parents, getting extremely upset when mom or dad leaves for the day, and whining about not getting enough kisses or time laying in bed kissing with mom and having his parents blow on chewed food in his mouth because it's too hot. Now, I really don't want to be critical of this if it's normal here, you know? But in the U.S., I seriously can't imagine a single 7th grade boy engaging in any of these behaviors, so it's really new to me. And really, it hadn't affected me, so I just let it be. The problem is, though, that now I'm starting to get involved, and it's making me really uncomfortable. For example, our rooms have adjacent windows which allows the kids to see into my entire room at all times. To me, this is pretty inappropriate. What am I supposed to do when I need to change clothes? But I also don't want to seem like I am sexualizing children or accusing them of anything, so I just politely asked for curtains and took to changing in the bathroom. After weeks without curtains, the family finally promised me that someone was coming to put them up. Well, he only put them in the kids' room. Ever since then, I find Dario peeping through the curtains at me multiple times a day. Now I'm sure he is just checking on me or curious about what I'm up to, but it makes me so uncomfortable. I didn't want to tell the family, though, because I'm afraid they would think I was accusing their baby of, trying to spy on me changing, so I just took matters into my own hands and hung a blanket up over my window. Another issue has been when we stay at the kids' grandparents' house. There is a room for the parents, with a bed for one child, and a room for me with a bed for one child. I figured we would split up boys and girls, and I would stay with the daughter, but nighttime rolls around and Dario is crawling into the bed next to mine. I was so uncomfortable I could hardly sleep. I have talked to my friends at home about this, and they all think it's really weird because we aren't related, and he's a teenager now. But this is, of course, an American opinion, so I can't tell for sure if we're imposing our ideas on this family. Again, if this is really a cultural thing, though, I don't know how to tell the family that where I am from, it's kind of inappropriate for a boy so old to be sleeping next to me, especially when he's been spying on me lately, without causing issues. Of course, these behaviors affect other aspects of our life, as well as it is hard to get Dario to do anything, because he usually claims it's too hard to do, making a bed at 13. Too hard? Are you kidding? And I often find myself wanting to tell him to grow up. What I need help with is knowing whether he does need to grow up, or if all this behavior is normal here, and I am the crazy American that needs to adjust. Is this behavior normal for a 12-year-old? Or is it immature? I feel like the parents still really see him as a young child, and usually he acts like it. But for the most part, it seems like he plays up the baby act because he knows it makes his parents cater to him more. If this all is abnormal, does anyone have any suggestions about how to bring this up to the family? Edit. Just want to clarify that at the grandparents' house there are 2 beds, and they are next to each other. Dario was not in my bed, but in the bed next to mine. TLD Dar. I nanny for a boy, 13M, whose behavior makes me uncomfortable. I'm not sure if he is actually being inappropriate, or if there is just a large cultural difference between my home country and this country. Relevant comment. The freaky. It's normal behavior for a spoiled 13-year-old. Of course, most adolescents would want to peek at you through the curtains. The problem is the parents. They have to stop that shit right now. Don't you have authority as a nanny to scold him? I'm Spanish. We have a very similar culture to Italy, and that shit is inappropriate. The parents are educating a horrible child that will grow up to be an asshole that thinks the world should cater to him. OP. Oh my goodness, the relief I am feeling right now to know that this isn't normal. So far, I have not particularly felt like I have much authority, because the times I would scold him, the parents are sitting right there. And how can I reprimand him in front of his own parents? I didn't include this in the post, but he is already showing major signs of being an asshole. He is always so rude, critical, and ungrateful. Every meal I make, he has something to insult about it. He treats his little sister like shit, even though she is a doll and often acts more mature than him, and he loves ordering me around and telling me what I'm doing wrong. It drives me up the wall. B186. We've established this kid's behavior is weird, but WTF at the parents responding to your request for privacy curtains by giving them to the child? OP. I have no clue. They've been really weird about some stuff. Like, this is TMI. But the mom knew I was on my period because I had to ask her where to buy tampons here, and we get to the house and there's no trash can in the bathroom or in my room. I asked for one multiple times, and she said she would get one and never did. And when I asked last, she said, well, the kids have a trash can in their room if you need it. Like, WTF, are you not an adult woman? Do you not understand how this works? Do the parents discipline the kids? I asked about discipline when I interviewed, and they said they don't really have to discipline the kids. I should have taken it as a warning sign. Honestly, the mom is very strict about some stuff, so they're very good in certain areas that she deems important, etiquette, cleanliness, but when Dario picks on the daughter, they just let the kids yell and scream and cry until I step in. They also seem to encourage many of Dario's rude comments because technically he does word them politely. For example, I will bust my ass making a meal for the whole family. To be kind and helpful, it is not in my job description, and Dario will eat 4 plates of it and then say, I'm sorry, but why would you cook this like that? And I'll say, that's how we cook it in the U.S. And he'll say, well, I didn't like it. The Italian way is much better, and then put his plate on mine for me to take it to the kitchen and leave. No, thanks for cooking. No, but I did like this part. Just insult. Clean my plate, bye. He loves to criticize. Is the child autistic? I thought about the autism initially, but I'm fairly certain it isn't that because when his parents are gone, the baby act completely turns off and he acts like any other teenager, albeit manipulative and critical, I have ever known. And I have worked in child care, in he classroom, and as a coach for years now. Update February 6th, 2017. Hi all, I'm back. Yeesh, how long has it been? 3. 4 months later with an update. Long story short, I quit. Here's the long version for those interested. The curtain issue, like I said in my last post, I had just hung a blanket for privacy, and since then there have been no peeping issues. I asked 2 more times for curtains, and was reassured both times that the curtain man would come to hang them in my room. He did come back once and hung more curtains in the kids' room, but again not in mine. Then I was told that they didn't like him and would be finding another curtain guy to hang my curtains. It's been 4 months. No more mention of it. I still use the blanket. The vacation issue, I have simply refused to go on vacation with them. I'm off on weekends, and I've reached a point where I just refuse to be home for the entire weekend and manage not to see them from Friday night until Monday morning if I can help it. I go on weekend trips, crash on couches, sneak into my room when they're eating, things like that just to avoid seeing anyone on my days off. The Dario issue. Dario still acts extremely immaturely. I've warmed up to him a lot, and I've figured out how to cut his rudeness and such. He's become a lot more positive and kind, especially because his mom has been gone a lot, and he's with me every day. I'm very upbeat, and have worked really hard to get him to socialize and speak kindly. Unfortunately, he seems to have almost regressed in terms of the childish behavior. He still sits on laps, kisses a lot, and sleeps with a parent when the other is gone. The baby talk is constant. Constant. For example, he loves to repeat back butchered syllables of words, if that makes sense. Like his dad will say, "Passami un cucchiaio," pass me a spoon, and he will clap and exclaim, "Ayo," or "Vuoi dell'acqua," do you want water? And he'll go, "Qua qua." He also has started eating kind of like a baby too. Like he'll take the remaining tomato sauce that we used on pasta and use the giant spoon to drink it out of the pot and get it all over his face, and then suck on each of his fingers. But when I look at his parents, they're looking at him like when you see a cute baby trying to use a fork and getting food on his face. But he's 13, so it's honestly sickening to watch and listen to. He won't lock the door when he goes to the bathroom or showers. Why, I started locking the door when I was like 7. And he even cried the other day when his sister sat on the foot of his bed. He doesn't like things touching his bed. And guess what? The parents got mad at the daughter. said it was her fault for baiting him. She just had to tie her shoe for a second. And declared that it's her fault Dario will be upset all night. He also hasn't made any progress with friends, and has taken to playing League of Legends, so he won't leave his room or do any activities or lessons with me or the sister. It's pretty sad, honestly. Basically, the hardest part of this whole thing has been the mother. I won't even go into it here, but she's honestly clinically insane, and I feel so bad for all the people in this house that have to put up with her. She's just a power-hungry, jealous, bitter woman who needs to see a professional. Basically, I went home for Christmas to be with my friends and family and realized how bad this experience was for my health. I was going out drinking almost every night to escape the house. I was sleeping horribly because I knew she was here and her presence gave me awful anxiety. I was getting yelled at every day, even when I did nothing wrong. I was at home in estates, and the thought of going back made me absolutely miserable. So when I came back, I told them I needed to go back early for medical reasons, not totally untrue, and now I'm set to leave the last week of March. They found a new girl. Look out for her post here sometime in the future. TL. Dario is still acting like a baby, the mom is still crazy, and I fucking quit. Homies, get me out of here. Story 10. Ada for snapping at my sister that she'll choke on her jealousy one day. Hi! I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I promise I'll clarify things if there are confusions, and sorry about them in advance. I'm 21F and I have 2 siblings. My sister is 24 and engaged. My brother is 28 and married to my sister-in-law, who is 25. My parents hosted a family luncheon to celebrate my sister's engagement at their house. I went early to help them set up, my brother and sister-in-law a little bit later than everyone else. My sister and her fiancé arrived last. Everything was going well and everyone was happy until my sister got a text and pulled me aside. She asked me if I could go outside and meet a friend of hers who's going to drop something off for her. I did. The something was a big ball of pure happiness, a St. Bernard dog with a cute little formal tie around his neck. As adorable as he was, I couldn't bring him in because my sister-in-law is allergic. Her allergy is not severe, but still, everyone in the family knows of it. I told the friend to please wait while I talked to my sister. She did not. I texted my sister that I can't bring him inside. She texted that it was fine to bring it in because it's a surprise and he's the newest addition to the family. I insisted that I can't. Then I texted my brother about it because it had been 10 minutes. I'm standing in the driveway with a big doggy that would not stop licking my legs, not knowing what to do. From what I was told, inside, my brother pulled my sister aside and asked her not to bring the dog in, that she knows his wife is allergic. She refused, saying that it's an open space, that sister-in-law will be fine. He then told her the news that sister-in-law is pregnant. I already knew, and they were waiting until she passed her first trimester. My sister then went outside, dragged the dog, and then me in when I resisted. My brother, seeing this, excused himself and left with sister-in-law. We tried resuming the lunch after that, but it was awkward at best. When my sister and her fiancé cut the cake, she grabbed her glass of champagne to make a toast. The toast was her rambling about how selfish my brother and his wife were, that they couldn't let her have one day to herself, and had to ruin and overshadow it. That they were not the first or last couple to get pregnant. Both of my parents tried to shush her, but she was on a roll, and went on to call sister-in-law an attention seeker that just had to give the family the first grandchild. I finally had enough and told her that green isn't a good look on her and that she was going to choke on her jealousy one day. Then I got up and left. She called me a bitch on my way out. My mom called me after and told me that it was a bit harsh, even if she was harsher. She also suggested that the 3 of us, siblings, talk it out after things settle a bit. My dad is staying neutral. I haven't heard from relatives that were at the luncheon. Ada? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. Question. Did your sister also know about the pregnancy, like you did, and pulled the dog stunt to make sure they left instead of making a public announcement, like she would have had the roles been reversed? OOP. My sister had no idea about the pregnancy. None of my family did. The only reason I know is because she got sick from the smell of chili cheese fries when we were having a girls' night in. We kind of just looked at each other, and a light bulb went off in our heads. It wasn't like my sister was purposely excluded or anything, and I can confidently say that my brother and sister-in-law would have never hijacked her day to announce their pregnancy. They were planning their own dinner next month to announce it. I assume that's done with, but maybe we can salvage it with a gender reveal if they're up for it. IDK. OOP's mom, OP's sister dragging her out of the house. My mom has always wanted us to talk our issues out because, at the end of the day, you're siblings. But yeah, that being said, I just want to clarify that even though she dragged me, it doesn't take much since I have the smallest stature of my siblings, so she didn't use a lot of force. I did call my brother and sister-in-law right after I got home, and they were good for the most part. They're obviously pissed, but since the news is already out, there's not much that can be done about it. Commenter: she didn't even treat the poor puppy well. The last thing a new puppy needs to deal with is the chaos and overstimulation of a family party. And what did they do with the poor wee bugger while they were cutting the cake and making their pissy speeches? Just leave it outside. Inside to piddle in a corner, 'cause the first few weeks with my pups they piddled with gay abandon every few minutes. OP: I ended up keeping him company before the cake-cutting thing went down, but yeah, he's not a puppy. If I were to guess, I would say he's maybe 2 years old. I volunteer at a shelter, but I'm definitely not a pro. Commenter: NTA. But I'm confused about who the dog was actually for. If the sister is engaged, that means she's going to be leaving home. So is it her dog? If she got a dog for her parents, that's fucking weird to get a big dog for somebody as a surprise gift. Or did she just do it to divert the attention onto herself because she already knew the sister-in-law was pregnant? I'm so confused. OP, the dog is hers and her fiancé. They both have their own place where the dog will be living, but she brought him to our parents' house to apparently introduce him to the family. Mom's words when I asked her about it. Commenter: introduce a full-grown Saint Bernard to the family with an allergic member. You can't get much more flying dog fur than that. Surely the introductions could have been made at a better time. Did your mother know she was going to do this? If so, not cool, Mom. OOP. I don't think she knew since she and my dad seemed pretty surprised, and then she spent the end of the party looking inside and outside the house for droppings, so IDK. Commenter: what worries me is this person will see her plan pissed everyone off, and she will blame the dog and take it to the pound. Or worse, set it free in a remote area. People like this woman are so wrapped up in their own world they have zero self-awareness. OOP: I didn't think of that, TBH. Even though I don't think my sister would ever harm a defenseless animal, I'll keep tabs and make sure he's treated well. Commenter: info: when you say she is allergic, what do you mean? You say not severely, so not a life-threatening condition. But would she be miserable within seconds, or is it a little bit uncomfortable? Allergies have very wide ranges. Also, they don't affect a pregnancy at all, unless it's life-threatening, of course. The baby won't notice a thing. I don't think it's within seconds, but she does start sneezing, gets a shortness of breath, and if, and this is an example, I pet a dog and touch her face for whatever reason, her eyes get a bit swollen and puffy. Commenter: I have not read all the comments yet, but what was the fiancé's reaction? Surely he is having second thoughts about marrying your mess of a sister. OOP: he was just kind of standing there, looking awkward as hell, but he didn't seem shocked by her behavior and was standing by her. He even raised his glass. One more clarification. I just want to clarify that they didn't announce their pregnancy at my sister's engagement party. My brother told her, and only her privately, since she was saying no to him, asking her not to bring the dog in. As far as I know, they have a cordial relationship, sister and sister-in-law, not overly friendly but also not standoffish. It could be that constantly sister-in-law's whims dictate every event. I'm at almost every family event. Some I couldn't attend due to personal reasons. But the ones I have been to, nothing of the sort happened. I do get why it's seen as my brother and I against her, but I just feel like in this situation he's justified. I will also be mentioning the deep clean to my parents. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. OOP is voted NTA. Relationship Advice Post, October 16th, 2024. Title: My 21F sister, 24F, keeps jokingly asking me who I'm sleeping with and if I've taken my BC. Birth control. This is getting so weird, guys. I made a post on another sub about something that happened with my family at my sister's engagement party. Gist of it is my sister found out my SIL is pregnant and flipped about them, and me, ruining her day. Since then, her and I sort of have made up. I sent her a text apologizing for what I said and she accepted it, but we didn't have a proper conversation about any of it. Anyway, since my apology, she asked who I'm seeing at the moment. More importantly, if it's a man or a woman. If it's men, then how many? And if I'm being careful with my BC. I was confused and mildly offended at her acting like I'm the whore of Babylon when she knows the only guy I've had sex with is my long-term ex-boyfriend, but whatever. I told her that I just started seeing a woman, and that she's not getting a niece or nephew from me anytime soon. Obviously, but it's a joke about my dad who used to warn both us and our older brother when we were younger, after every family meeting, that he won't have teen mothers or fathers under his roof. I thought it was her own weird way of checking up on my life even if she had never done it before. But she literally sends me a message about my BC every couple of days, even though I told her I'm seeing a woman. Not that the woman and I are having sex, but you get biology. I don't know how to approach this. Like I have zero clue. Advice, please? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, I read the other post. I think she's worried that you'll end up pregnant before her wedding too. I mean, it came out at her engagement luncheon that your SIL is pregnant, so she already thinks your brother SIL are one-upping her. I think she's focused on who else is going to show her up at her wedding. I'm not saying she's right or even sane, but that's the feeling I get. OOP. But the thing is that I'm nowhere near a place in my life where I'm even thinking of having a baby. No offense to people who have babies at 21, 22, but I'm not trying to do that. Yeah, accidents can happen, but I'm not sleeping around with men, and even if I was, I would be taking double precautions. Condoms, BC. I think she's miffed that my brother is having the first grandbaby and wants to have the second. IDK. But I'm worried about her behavior, TBH. This isn't healthy or normal. Commenter, hey sis, you keep asking me about this, like it's really important to you. What's going on? OP. I mean, I will definitely ask her, but I don't want her to get defensive because she perceives me on my brother's side in all of this, which, yes, I am a little bit guilty of that. Update post. October 24th, 2024, 8 days later, 5 weeks from OG post. Hi guys! It's been around a month or so, and TBH, I don't have that much of an update, but a lot of people have been asking me about the doggy, and it's easier than telling people individually, so here it is. First things first, the update on my sibling situation. My brother and SIL have gone LC with my sister until they get a proper apology, which hasn't happened yet, but I think it will happen soon. My sister has been talking to my mom about wanting to be in our future niece's life, so there's that at least. Also, my SEL is officially out of her first trimester, and she and the baby are healthy and thriving, thankfully. She has been having a bit of a hard time when it comes to smells and pregnancy stuff, but I think that's to be expected. Don't come at me, just from what I've read. We've also been planning a gender reveal party for next month, so we're just focusing on the positive stuff for now. As for my sister and I did send her an apology for how harsh I was with her at the party, and she accepted it and apologized for calling me a bitch. But it's been so damn weird when it comes to our dynamic, especially since she's suddenly all up in my business about who I'm sleeping with. But that's another issue. Now for the awaited update, Barkley. Turns out the big fluffball has an adorable bark, one you wouldn't expect when seeing him, hence his name. As some of you predicted, my sister was not up for the massive job that is taking care of a Saint Bernard, and a week and a half after the party, she called and asked me to find him another home. I volunteer at a shelter and know a lot of people who would love to adopt. I honestly wanted to keep him myself because I've grown attached, but I live in an apartment RN, and not only would it be impossible, it would also be cruel to keep him cooped up like that. Luckily, a friend of a friend has the space for him to be happy and safe, and took him in with the promise of letting me see him whenever we're both free, and now I get random pics and videos of Barkley in his element, all happy and bark fighting with the guy's next-door neighbor's Yorkie. Don't worry, there's fences between them. So, yeah, just wanted to say thank you guys for all the advice and opinions. I appreciate all of you. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. I mean, I'm more worried about the other neighbors who have to listen to that, but seems like things at least worked out for Barkley. OOP. I get your concern, but from what I've seen of the guy's neighborhood, went to check it out and meet him first, it's a lot of families and most of the kids have pets, cats, dogs, and a parrot guy's intel, so it seems like they're used to pet noises.